Hillsdale High School, built in 1955, is located in the heart of the Bay Area, 20 miles south of San Francisco. It serves a community that stretches from low-income housing near the freeway to upper-middle-class homes in the nearby hills.
Schools like Hillsdale have always served the community well in the sense of preparing those students that have traditionally gone on to four-year schools. The work that we're doing and what makes it a particular challenge is to continue to serve that population as well or better, and at the same time provide the type of education that we feel the other 50% need.
Hillsdale High School was a comprehensive high school that served 1,200 students.
When Hillsdale was built, it was a largely white community. Second language learners were non-existent. Demographically, we've changed significantly in the 16 years I've been here and in the 50 years of the school. We are very, very close to 50% minority, probably 25% Hispanic, 14% Asian, single digits of Pacific Island, African American, and several other groups. Hillsdale had done a number of things that preceded our formal move into smaller learning communities.
Things picked up in the mid to late 90s. We started to put together book clubs, and I think that once we had those conversations about places that had reorganized themselves, then you start to get ideas about how you might do it here.
In Hillsdale's formal smaller learning community work, we are, I guess, 3 years into it. We had a year of really pretty focused planning, and then 2 years ago, we actually had our first class enter. That group then moved into their sophomore year this year in the sophomore houses. So essentially, we've grown our smaller learning communities up from the freshman to the sophomore year. We had a decision to make. Do we add junior year next year, or do we add juniors and seniors? Knowing that if we added juniors and seniors, those seniors would have never been in the houses. That was a very conscious choice and an important one. We decided to add both at the same time.
Open up to your warm-up section.
To ease the transition of his juniors into the houses the following year, 11th grade English teacher Marty Roberts devotes a unit on nonfiction writing to material relating to small learning communities.
I noticed with my juniors a great deal of fear and confusion and lack of understanding about what it will mean to be in a smaller learning community here at Hillsdale. They're juniors, so they've been in a normal high school structure for the last 2 years. So we put together this project to both inform them and then to inform other juniors who are not part of my class. I want you to read your quotation, and each quotation has to do with school reform or possible reasons that we might think about redesigning schools. We've gone and looked at the exact same readings that the principal and teachers here were looking at when they helped design this idea of an SLC for Hillsdale. That's our purpose, and our audience, guys, for when we make our presentation and when we do our writing, is to students, staff, and families who might want to become more informed about this project. And I wanted to make this bridge between what adults were thinking about when we created this kind of equity-centered reform. You know, I wanted to introduce that to students because they could point to the needs themselves, but they don't always have a way to articulate that. So what does that tell you?
It says that teachers should be paying more attention to the students, like, individually, but she dropped out, you know, her grades were going, not really good. And then
That sound like anybody you know? Or people you've heard about to match that description?
don't look at me.
Personally, my cousin, she goes to school in San Francisco. She had trouble having to communicate or to talk to the teachers when she needed help. So she's thinking to drop out, and I tell her, don't drop out, don't give up so easily.
Figures and facts and research around lessening an achievement gap has really helped persuade some students and move them over to the idea that this might be a progressive thing to do for all high school students.
Hillsdale staff voted on each major change through the redesign process and involved the Teachers Association at each step. After voting to include the 11th and 12th grade in small learning communities, the staff selected a trusted group called the Elders to assign the 11th and 12th grade teachers to houses.
And so we're meshing, the new folks with the existing. And so
People stated some preferences and gave some profiles, and then we took that into account, but that wasn't, after that we tried to figure out what the best choices would be. I thought that we could take a minute or two to go back to figure out what our goal is, what our purpose is, what we want to accomplish today.
One of the things that I think we really need to value and focus on is balancing the houses as much as possible so that one house doesn't look heavily like an honors class, etc. So I think making that a priority is just really important, at least to me and to my house.
We cannot have the even slightest suspicion that one of the houses is stronger in terms of teachers with AP experience.
Hillsdale's new four-year houses are launched with ceremony at a special faculty meeting where the teacher assignments made by the elders are announced.
You asked the elders to divide you up. Would the elders, would someone help the elders? Please stand up.
Please remember that special ed dance teacher put these together. So when you get your little package, you'll see you got the key to your new house, and inside is your new house assignment.
I think there's excitement, there's a little bit of anxiety because it's changed, and we're not exactly sure what that's going to look like once we get the whole school involved.
1, 2, 3, go!
I think we have 2 years under our belt, and I think that that's given us some confidence and some sense that it's inevitable, but there are lots of challenges next year. I think next year is a real critical year in several areas, partly in incorporating the new teachers.
Hey, Maracas.
Everybody who is in Florence house, yay! Is going to stay here for our meeting.
After the announcement of assignments, the teachers of Marrakesh hold the first house meeting of their newly expanded community, now encompassing all 4 years.
We need to identify who the advisors are going to be. There will be 4 in the 11th grade, 4 in the 12th grade. Now what we've done...
The underpinnings of each of Hillsdale's 3 small learning communities are its grade-level teams, which consist of 4 teachers in English, social studies, math, and science. The teachers share advising responsibility and plan interdisciplinary instruction and culminating exhibitions for their 100 students.
So he was talking about, how this has taught him that he really is able to do complicated work. He said for the first time, and I think he meant it, I really want to graduate from high school because
Although we don't directly call it professional development, it is professional development. As you talk about kids together, as you plan activities together, and it's as you share the work that different teachers are doing in different classrooms, it's impossible not to grow as a teacher.
But you're right about that. We only need one dominant allele.
Emblematic of Hillsdale's goal of providing college prep curriculum to all students is biology, which is taught not just to a few, but to every freshman.
Before the conversion, in the first years that I came here, they only taught biology to about 30% of our student population. When we started the smaller learning community, we decided that we would start with biology for all freshmen. And that's what we've been doing for the past 2 years.
Our percentage in science courses in the district was the lowest, and now it's probably the highest.
Throughout the district, any student who takes biology is given the district common assessment. And we have all students taking biology here as freshmen, and in other schools, maybe 30% of their freshmen might be enrolled in biology and our scores appeared to be comparable.
Biology teachers from all 3 houses meet regularly to plan the curriculum and develop instructional strategies to ensure that all students are successful.
We all work together very closely to deliver the same curriculum to our students and to work to try to make our lessons accessible to the wide range of students that we have.
Old and new. Okay, thank you.
Let's make sure. Amanda, could you explain that back to us? Which one is it?
I don't get it.
Teaching to the heterogeneous classroom. That has been the biggest challenge.
One strand of old and one strand of new on 2 separate data.
Maybe if you could take out the diagram and maybe show her the diagram, because that makes such a big difference.
That's something like this?
Yeah, like that, and then this would be adenine, the bonds, and here's the phosphate, and then it unzips the strand of the double helix, and then it adds another enzyme.
We need some patience. We're barely 2 years into this, and some of this is going to take a little longer, but there are encouraging signs. Our biology achievement, campus atmosphere, student behavior, student sense of belonging. Students are attending better.
That middle 50% is being served in a way that it probably wasn't ever before. I think that many of them are developing that academic identity that they might not have had before.
Now, rumor has it, this is a great rumor, that you actually found a book that you like to read.
Yeah, you heard about that?
Mr. Lance was pretty proud of you.
Yeah.
In
He's telling
fact-
you about me?
In fact, I even heard a rumor that because of your work on that you'd been moved into...
I was in honors for a week.
We have the vast majority of our kids involved in a rigorous core curriculum. We have a larger number of kids being involved in more rigorous kinds of assignments. I think that we have a sense of involvement in the school, or an attachment to the school, that some of the kids have gotten because of the close bonds they've created within the smaller learning community that didn't exist before.
We talk a lot here about ends and means, and smaller learning communities are means. The end is higher achievement for all students.
Because you can help each student out.
Small learning communities.